It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
TB and Vinny back for another Wednesday. Cast Talk Wednesday in here. Oh, TB
Tag team back again. Checked it, corrected. Let's begin. That's right.
Here we are, man. We got some guests. Look, we got some guests coming up. It's just me and TB today. And we'll have this out tonight. Hope y'all enjoy it. Coming to you courtesy of the BS3 Network. TB is Ninered out for obvious reasons. So we'll definitely get to that. Y'all went across the country to Pennsylvania and handled business. It was pretty much over as soon as the kickoff. I mean, it was 17-0. I don't even think I got my TV on. It was already 17-0 49ers. So got that. Both our teams were impressive over the weekend. Kentucky is 2-0. Akron's coming to town. First things first, though, every coach says it. Football, there's more things important than football: life, family, health in this case. And Liam Coen had a health scare. He's a young dude. He's younger than us. 37, I want to say. He's not that old. Got a young wife and a young son. And you saw the tweet that he had a situation and was in the UK Chandler Health Center. So that was scary, but good to hear that he's doing a lot better.
Absolutely. Definitely glad he's doing well. It doesn't have to be said, but sometimes it does. There are things more important than football. So glad he's recuperating. Sounds like he's going to be back on the sideline this weekend. So definitely love to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Now, at this point, everybody's talked about the game a lot. You've been on Round of Shots. You had the spaces. We kind of in the midweek where we look back a little bit and then look ahead to the upcoming game. But this particular game, for you weren't able to completely get your wish as far as maybe cleaning in the as far as being able to clean in the second half and flip to Colorado and all that. Maybe it took a little bit longer for that to happen because it was bless your heart.
Woo!
Bless your heart, man.
Allergic to this corn, I guess. But no, looking back at Eastern, and look, sometimes a win's a win.
Yeah.
I think in especially today's day and age, we try to make, what does this win mean? And essentially, this game just meant Kentucky won.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it as impressive as we thought they should be? No. The team looked flat. I thought Eastern Kentucky was rising to the occasion. As soon as it was announced that Coach Kidd, and we'll talk about Coach Kidd here in a moment, they were going to be ready to play. I think the familiarity, because there's a lot of Kentucky faces on the EKU staff, I think that played a little bit into it. But when Kentucky had to get serious and buckle down, they did.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you get a game that's like that. As my man Jay Hayes pointed out on Round of Shots, a few years ago during the 10-win season, we were down to Central Michigan at half. Dave in the Spaces was talking about, I forgot what team he said, but that game was tied a couple years ago. Like, it's okay. And eventually you're not going to remember these kinds of games if you have the season you think that you're going to have. And obviously things have to improve, but you can say that every week. It was still a comfortable win. I'll take it.
And like that familiarity maybe factored in more than we wanted. Walt Wells, he was assistant. CJ Conrad played for him. We knew all that. And some others I'm not able. The Maxwell Smith quarterbacks coach, played for students, all that. We said all that and then just kind of wanted to brush it aside. I think that played a role more. You mentioned Coach Kidd, being in hospice care and in bad health leading up to the game, just passing away yesterday. Uh, we've had Charles Tinsley on here from Cumberland High School, right where I'm from. He played for Coach Kidd at EKU. Saw him putting his tributes up, and grateful to have played for him, and just what a iconic figure he was from right there in Corbin. Won 2 championships, played for 2 more, and just he's an institution. Everything there at EKU is named after him. Got facilities and streets, and deservedly so. So, and like you said, it's one of those games you just kind of get through it. It was 21-10, and okay, maybe you got them KO. No, they bounced back and answered, made it 21-17, and then Kentucky, finally got up 11 again. Got through it. Everybody pretty healthy. Definitely got to clean stuff up, the penalties, and it's 3rd and 1, and then next thing you know, it's 3rd and 6. That's you like to say, that's not ideal. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot like that. You'll hear people say, "Well, if we were playing Georgia and Florida, well, we weren't." So,
and look, you can take those hypotheticals. If this, then that. Yes. If I understand you want to look better moving forward, but I don't think that's fair. Give me the sharp games later.
Right.
Don't waste your sharp games now, right? Where you look good. I'd rather have the world beater performance when we go to Athens.
Yeah.
Or when the Crimson Tide come to town.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give me looking sharp against Eastern Kentucky.
Right.
People try to say same old Kentucky, blah blah blah. Well, look, this is like the 17th or 18th straight non-conference game that Kentucky's won. That's not the same old Kentucky.
That's true.
Like, if you want to say this is the same old Kentucky, no, same old Kentucky used to lose these games,
right?
Or used to have to scratch and claw. It was a few years ago. Dorian Baker had to pull off a miracle in the 4th quarter to beat Eastern, right? Yeah. I'm still remembering they're supposed to be SEC. That's Kentucky football. Mm-hmm. When you talk about the way we used to do it, but having comfortable wins, it doesn't get boring to me.
No, and yeah, and look, it was, to me, it was kind of a sluggish Saturday for a lot of places. Y'all touched on it as well. I flipped over to Tennessee, and they're playing Austin Peay, and it's 3-3 at the end of the 1st quarter. It's 6-6, and Tennessee gets a touchdown literally with seconds remaining before halftime. So it's 13-6 at halftime. You think they're not, anxious and wondering what's going on as well, because they're supposed to blow them off the field the same way Kentucky is. North Carolina, we know App State's reputation. North Carolina barely beat them. I'm surprised anybody even wants to play them anymore. I'm surprised anybody even answers their phone calls. Texas A&M, Jimbo and Petrino supposed to be back, got blown out at Miami. And look, we old, as you like to say. This ain't our Miami.
This ain't the U.
This is just some run-of-the-mill Miami, and they hung 50, I think, on Texas A&M. So,
and that's the thing too, is you have to look at the state of college football. And unless you look, there's like 130 teams in FBS, right? You've got 5 teams that should beat everybody they play by 50 points. That's the Georgias, your Ohio States, and everything like that. You got 5 teams that are probably going to have 1 or 2 wins all year. But everybody else, like we talk about, is, 7 or 8 plays away from, their win total shifting 3 or 4 wins either direction. And that's where Kentucky is. I get it. You want to have perfection, but that's not the way it's going to work. I would like to see a little bit more consistency against Akron, on the turnover tire. I don't want to see the turnover tire come out.
Right, yeah.
But, go into Georgia at 5-0, and I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me, me personally. Give yourself a shot to make some noise. So, look, sometimes a win's a win. I hoped we would get away from, because for a while there, for a few seasons, every win, every loss was an indictment on what Stoops is doing. If he won, and if he lost, well, we don't know. Well, we got to get to the point where a game's just a game. And, put it in basketball terms, there's a bunch of meh games that you just win, not great, like you could have played better, but you won. And so you keep it moving, right? I tell folks all the time, basketball season, just go to bigbluehistory.net. Kentucky plays, anywhere between 38 and 40 games a year for the last couple of years. How many of those games do you actually remember?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the Ole Miss game from 2002? I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember the Louisville game from 2002. I'm assuming we won. We win that game all the time. But, I'd have to work for, sometimes all you get is a game. Even on football, we don't play that many. Sometimes it's just a game, man.
And you don't have, in this case, you don't have preseason games either. The NFL is went from 4 to 3, but in college, you got to roll out there in game one. You can scrimmage all you want, spring games, fall camp, but that's against your teammates. It's not against somebody different. And so these games count, but it's just two real games. You want to be smart, but hey, you got to.
And Leary has looked a whole lot better. He's looked comfortable back there. The timing hasn't been there. Some of the throws haven't been there. His receivers haven't helped. But I like the way he's comfortable in the pocket, right? The offensive line, I'd like to see the run game a little bit more. But passing game, they've kept Leary relatively clean through the first couple of games. I know, based on competition, but still, last year, Levis was running for his life from the first snap.
Yeah.
So to me, that's moving in the right direction. So, look, I'll take it. Get to 3-0. I'd rather learn a lesson with an ugly win than a pretty loss. I'll take it.
Absolutely. We got volleyball in your hometown. We got Cats and Cards playing volleyball tonight too. So
that's a big matchup. That's a recent champ and a recent runner-up. Volleyball's become the sport of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about what Nebraska did a couple of weeks ago with their game at the football stadium. And I'd love to see Kentucky and Louisville do the same, because if you look at the course at the college level, UK, U of L, Western, you look at the high school level, a lot of the schools in Kentucky are competing at the national level in high school. Assumption in Louisville, Sacred Heart in Louisville, a couple other big-time programs. It's a growing sport. I think that Kentucky and Louisville need to lean into that.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to see, number one. Number two, it's clear that Cards and the Cats, it's more than just men's hoops.
Yeah.
Probably, there's been a stretch where, when they play each other, you'd have to say that maybe the men's basketball game, has been the least interesting of most of the matchups, right? Volleyball has been close. Women's basketball has delivered some great games.
Mm-hmm.
Men's and women's soccer delivered some great matchups. Baseball has just delivered some classic. It's, football has been one-sided.
Yeah.
Lately. There's been no real drama with that. So, love to see it, because when these teams are playing, they're nationally ranked teams as well. That's what I tell folks. You can have UNC and Duke men's hoops for your rivalry, but Kentucky, Louisville, we here for everything, man.
Mm-hmm.
And at least one of the teams is going to be ranked that's playing.
Yeah, absolutely. So got that coming up at 8:00, and like you say, it's exploding, it's growing. The coverage is taking off. Friend of the show, Leah Edmond, is on radio with Dick Gabriel, who we both know his show, and it's just, this wasn't happening while she was playing, and she just finished playing, and now look how drastic the change is. Craig Skinner is recruiting Kentucky girls, and then bringing in, of course, nationally.
Yeah.
You know, east of the Mississippi is not just near Nebraska and Stanford, who played each other last night. I'm not sure who won, but it's branching out beyond the volleyball blue bloods, if you will. And
Yeah.
we east of the Mississippi, and we got a title. We first SEC team. So Kentucky's making history, and it's taking off. It's like the the launching point for it all right now.
Absolutely. So I'm on board with that. I've seen a few volleyball games up close, taking the girls to a bunch. It's fantastic.
Mhm.
It's a sport that's made for TV.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple game to understand, and it's fantastic. It's fast paced.
Hmm.
It's just I love it. I'm gonna tune in and hope the Cats win tonight.
We got to get the field hockey update, man. You the correspondent. You got to let us know what Lauren is doing. You can't call it a miss. I sure can't. So give us
Oh,
the latest.
she scored her first regular season goal on Monday, and so I got the rundown on that. She's very very excited. They beat Butler on Monday, and so she's very very excited. She's getting more and more playing time, and it's just fantastic, man. Just watching her do her thing, and uh, just uh, I felt like Richard Williams with Venus and Serena doing their thing.
Uh-huh.
Like I talk about when your kid's doing it, it's just a different level, man. That's why all these people telling Dion to be quiet. Like, look, man, if I'm doing something, okay, but if my kid's doing something too, oh no, baby, we got to. I'm gonna tell everybody about it. So
Mhm.
so she's doing fantastic and having a blast.
That's good. And Mama B was just in town too, right?
Yeah, she hung out. We were able to catch dinner with friend of the show and friend in real life, Adam Jacoby. We had got a big crab boil thing going on,
Oh,
and
stop it!
and
Stop it!
did and it did that, which I'm like, well, let me see how this is because y'all ain't close to an ocean here, so let's see. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good. They get stuff in fresh. So I was like, oh, okay, all right,
So either the crab boil, the shrimp,
yeah,
the sausage,
yeah,
the
yeah.
corn, and y'all, of course, y'all had the corn right there to just put
Yeah,
it in. So
the fresh corn's no problem. So, Mama B was here from Thursday to Monday. Had a great time. Most of the time, she just hung out, had some good eats and things like that. But no, it was good to have Mama B here. She got to spoil Sammy a little bit.
oh
So,
boy. Now you talked about all of her travels,
yes.
and in addition to she just goes somewhere herself. She take her own trips. Had she been to Iowa before you made the move to Iowa?
No.
So what was her first impression of Iowa coming to visit you?
Oh well, she came first for the wedding. She's made it perfectly clear she's not visit during the winter time.
Uh,
She will come when it's warm. But she enjoys. Like I said, Des Moines compares to Louisville a little about the same size as Lexington, maybe a little bit smaller.
okay.
Uh, I'd have to look that up, but about the same. It's there's a riverfront. It's very very similar. Good food, good cultural stuff. You want to do museums and things like that. So she had a blast. And you're right. Mama B's been literally all over the world. Uh, I've never heard anybody filling up 2 passports, but she has done that
That's
and has literally been all over. So she is the world traveler. I mean, if I start rattling off the places she's been, I'm gonna forget something.
Mama be on another level, man.
Yeah,
Another level. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, I don't think we ever had this man on the show, but you knew him better than I did. You got to see him at games and stuff. And TJ Beisner
yeah,
heading to North Carolina. So I think his son is over there.
yeah.
He's going to take care of some NIL stuff for them and taking a new role over there. This
Yeah,
kind of was in the works. You heard about it a long time ago, and like it
yeah,
became official a couple days ago.
yeah. And look, I wish TJ the best. He's fantastic. I remember when he was working at CN2, him and Bradley McKee doing their
Yeah,
things there. Got to hang out with him a bit. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like we're the best of friends, but we'd see him out and about and different things. And, big loss, but I think it has less to do with, oh no, what's going on with Kentucky? Like he's making that move. He's got a son in North Carolina, wants to, and if you're going to move, might as well get a job at North Carolina.
yeah.
If you're going to do that, we'll see what Cal does. But the same people told me that Cal was asleep at the wheel at the beginning of the off season. Now he doesn't know what he's doing. I can't live like that, man. We'll see what's next. But this kind of stuff happens all the time, right? People leave programs. People left in Kentucky's heyday. You know, Patino left. Did that mean that the program was never going to win again? No, because we won the very next season, right? So that's, people change, but Kentucky basketball keeps going. And I'm not trying to say that, TJ is replaceable, but this machine's going to keep going. I don't think it's indicative of anything more than he just was ready to move on.
And fans deal with that in their day-to-day life, but when it happens to the team, it's like traumatic. Oh, we're losing the offensive coordinator. Oh, we're losing defense coordinator. It's not traumatic to the coaches and personnel inside the program, but people, Kellen Moore went from the Cowboys to the Chargers, or Cowboy fell. Oh, what do we do? It's just panic sets in. People look to panic anyway.
Yeah.
But when somebody leaves your job, it's not the same level of panic as when somebody leaves a position on your team.
Right. And look, the Niners, we've lost D'Amico Ryans, Robert Saleh up, coaching the Jets. Your boy Mike down in Miami. This happens, right? We talk about years ago the Bill Walsh coaching tree, and then you had the Jimmy Johnson coaching tree. This kind of stuff happens, right? Sometimes it's a lateral move for a different opportunity. Eric Bieniemy leaving the Chiefs, going to Washington. Well, sometimes this kind of thing happens, and I just can't see this as being, well, what's going to happen? I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. I know he's done a lot of things really, really well for Kentucky, TJ. Hate to see him go. Great person, great man, but at the same time, we got to keep this thing going.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it'll be that time before we know it too. Practice and Big Blue Madness, all that's right around the corner. Right around the corner. You mentioned Salah, who's coaching the Jets. Man, Aaron Rodgers, like him, hate him, that's still brutal to see that happen.
Yeah,
Monday.
Whew. Yeah, that's wild. But we got to talk about Josh Allen. Your boy Dak gets a lot of flack for his turnovers, and Jameis Winston, that was his knock. But I'm like, we got to say something about Josh Allen, right?
I mean, look, a guy, Bomani Jones, Josh Allen won him over progressively year by year with him becoming more accurate, doing this, doing details, leading the Bills to the playoffs and all that. And now it's like it's just one game, but he's kind of regressing.
But it's more than one game. I mean,
that's true.
He's had more turnovers than any quarterback the last 4 seasons, like by far.
And there's no way you should lose Monday with it's hyped. This game been hyped all summer. Aaron Rodgers coming to the Jets. All they need is a quarterback, in their opinion. He runs out with the flag, out there for 4 plays. Achilles gone. You saw the stadium. Robert Saleh was over there on the sideline. He was in a trance for a long time. He looked like, he was at a family member's funeral or something. And so Allen and the Buffalo, the blood should have been in the water. Should have blew them out. Should have never giving them a chance to be in the game at all. And then, like you mentioned, let Dak have 4 turnovers by himself Sunday against the Giants, or let him throw for 82 yards like Joe Burrow did.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. But the thing is, that gunslinger mentality, it really only worked for Brett Favre, right? Because it's one of those things, when he's on, but you don't know if you're gonna get the 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's a wild way to live, right? But you look at the really successful quarterbacks, what's the difference? They don't turn the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you think of the greats, what separates them is they didn't turn the ball over. I think a lot of people get hung up on like Troy Aikman because his numbers don't match up to, whatever.
They're not gaudy, but and I of course I always took exception to that, being a Cowboys fan. They're not off the charts, but he was efficient.
And
You never had to worry about Troy pulling a Romo or Farvin at the wrong time.
And
you never had to worry about that.
Or these YOLO throws that just are disheartening. I think about all yes, Brett Favre went to 2 Super Bowls, but yes, there were a lot of playoff games, like against the Vikings, where the Packers are driving and he just tosses it up and it just deflates, right? It's just deflating. And your Montanas didn't do that. Young didn't do that. Talking about Troy Aikman didn't do that. John Elway didn't do that. And sometimes it looked like he was out there by himself, until he got Terrell Davis and, but these YOLO throws and turn the ball over, man, it's yikes.
Mm-hmm.
But your boy Joe Burrow, he's not Joe Cool. There's only one Joe Cool, and I've got his autograph ball over there, right? So I don't know if you saw me get flamed on Twitter for this take. Freezing cold takes, that brings up this kind of stuff. Retweeted somebody that basically was like, I don't think Joe Burrow needs to be with Cincinnati for the long term. This guy tweeted it out in January of 2020. Okay. And I was like, well, wait a minute now. I see y'all coming after this dude right after Joe got his money. But I'm like, what about the Bengals made you think they were championship caliber? And I had a lot of people like, oh, you just think they were poor. No. What I said was, what made you think they were championship caliber? Don't give me the Marvin Lewis, Andy Dalton years. Because y'all always played that first game on Saturday of the playoffs. Yeah. Play the Texans like 3 straight years or whatever. Yeah. It was always the Texans and the Bengals, that weird Saturday night game when you forgot the NFL playoffs had started, right?
Yeah, they was losing to Matt Schaub and T.J. Yates and
right. Andre Johnson or whoever, So I got a lot of flack for that. Like, Cincinnati fans coming out of the woodwork. Look, all I'm going to say is this. Joe Burrow is the Bengals' all-time playoff game winner with 4. 4 playoff wins.
Wow.
To put that in perspective, Brock Purdy has 2.
Ooh.
He would be second place on the Bengals list.
Right. How many's Boomer got?
I think Boomer's got like 2 or 3, whatever. But
unbelievable.
Yeah, right. So I caught a lot of flack, and I'm like, all right, y'all can pay Joe Cool all you want. That's fine, right? If that's how you want to go, that's fine. But all that money, like 14 to 31 for 84 yards.
Against Cleveland. How's Cleveland gonna be your kryptonite? Like the Jets with Allen. How these
that Jamar Chase called the elves. Yes. I can't believe we lost the well, Cleveland's got your number, man.
Yeah.
And look, I get it. Everybody loves these high-priced quarterbacks. The 49ers are doing it differently. The Trey Lance situation, okay. But if we have been competitive with cheap quarterbacks,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, so if you can win with a cheap quarterback on a rookie deal, why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
Then then you can pay Bosa money.
Right.
Then Kittle can get paid. Then Debo can get paid.
Mm-hmm.
CMC can get paid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different way of doing things. And Purdy, I like. He showed some flashes on Sunday that he's back to it. Remember, he still hasn't lost in the regular season. He's like 8-0.
That's right. I mean,
Uh,
just made quick work of Pittsburgh. I thought, I thought that might be a little rougher for them. Pittsburgh coming off a 9-8 season, whatever. Tomlin still found a way to have a winning season with that roster, and I thought, well, this, you know, recalibrate. First game in Pittsburgh, first game back for Purdy. I thought y'all might have a little trouble, and I was wrong.
well, the problem is, and we talked about this going to the playoffs last year, that Brian Baldringer, who covers the NFL, brought it out. Because of the players the 49ers have on offense, that they can all do everything. I think he said that when they shift around, because CMC can go out wide, he can go to the backfield. Debo, where's he at? Jusic, where's he at? Kittle, where's he at? So Ayuk on the outside as a number one receiver, he gets double teamed less than any number one. Because you can't double Ayuk and let Debo run free.
Yeah.
Or Jennings on the other side. And so his thing was when the 49ers start shifting around and moving, it requires the defense to make 25 to 30 calls pre-snap. And the 49ers thing is you can't do that all game. Like you can do it for a little bit, but you can't account for all that for the entire game. There's going to be a breakdown somewhere. And that's how you end up with, how the hell is Kittle wide open? How's Debo what is going on? Or McCaffrey had a 65-yard run because Ayuk is blocking downfield, right? That's that old school receiver kind of thing. How does Emmitt Smith do his thing is because Michael Irvin is blocking downfield, which, we don't think of receivers today doing that, but that used to be the thing, right? That's how you get those long runs is the receivers have to lock it up. And so in San Francisco, everybody blocks. You got 4 or 5 guys that can run. You got 4 or 5 guys that can catch the ball at a high level. It's a lot of pressure on the defense. So Purdy, back to what we said earlier, don't turn the ball over. And he's been very, very good at that. And make your 1 or 2 plays a half, right? The 49ers were driving, and he ran for a 3rd and long, converted it, keep the chains moving, game over for Pittsburgh. Just give me some of that. You ain't got to be flashy, man.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't trying to get you 450 yards passing.
Yeah.
Just do what you have to do to win. I love it.
Yep. And that was very impressive. Very impressive at Pittsburgh. So 1-0. My Cowboys go to New York, primetime game. And, you talk about having somebody's number. Dak has won 10 straight starts against the Giants going into Sunday. They made the playoffs. They won a game. They, lost to the Eagles, whatever, but they felt they were better. They felt they had a little something for us. They had a decent opening drive. They were getting some runs on us, 5-6 yards, 6, and moving right on down the field. I'm like, okay, you have to tighten this up, get the field goal blocked, and get a special teams touchdown. So they did all that driving and had nothing. Drove down the field, looked good, and were down a touchdown for their effort. And it snowballed. Maybe they're not that bad. Maybe Dallas isn't that great. But as far as Dak, he didn't really have to do anything. It was kind of like Kentucky's first game against Ball State. You had a defensive touchdown, you had a special teams touchdown. The offense, hey, we just go ahead and kick it, mess around a little bit, but the game's already in hand. It's raining, it's ugly. Get everybody healthy. Let's get on the plane and get out of here.
Why'd
40,
why'd
40
y'all
break.
give Daniel Jones all that money? What is going on? Let me
Dak,
just say this about the New York Football Giants. I know they got 4 championships, 4 Super Bowls. They are the most mediocre multiple Super Bowl winning team I have ever seen. Honestly, I look. You know how I feel. Eli stumbling into those 2 Super Bowls, but I have never. Probably you got to go back to those Lawrence Taylor, and that was on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah.
But I've never been like, oh man, the Giants. They've never been must-see TV.
Yeah.
They've never been exciting.
Oh.
Most of the time, they're just mediocre.
Yeah.
Like, did they ever finish 13-3? I don't know. I know they've probably won the NFC East, but it's not been like, they're coming in the playoffs hot. Like, there's never been a Giants team. I'm like, oh, that's great.
Uh-huh.
When we start talking about ranking all-time great teams, you got to go back to Y.A. Tittle for the Giants. Because none of their Super Bowl teams are you like, wow, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. They what Scott Norwood is the only reason they got one of them, because you make that kick, that's one that they don't have. Buffalo has one, and
they shouldn't have been in the Super Bowl in the first place. Don't get me started about Matt Barnes 6 field goals, okay? Don't get me started about that. But I was just thinking, like, because they're in New York, we kind of have to care. But the Giants have not been good enough to really care about. To me,
no,
I mean, that's the thing is. You stumble into 2 Super Bowls, and I hate to diminish that, but outside of the Super Bowl runs, not another playoff win for Eli. That's just weird, man. They're the UConn of it, like UConn, a lot of poo-poo juice, but when they get together, they win. That's just the most bizarre thing ever.
Mm-hmm. You said who's you mentioned Daniel Jones getting that money. I tell you who is happy about it, and that would be Dak and his agent, because it's about time for Dak to renegotiate again. And you see this dude getting this. Oh, all right then. So Bosa just got whatever, but if Goff and I know they beat Kansas City, but Daniel Jones got what he got, and if I'm Dak, I'm like, cool. That's good. That's good.
Again, I want the 49ers to win because I'm a 49ers fan. But 2, be like, look, you don't have to be stupid with your quarterback. I think it's just a different paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, when have we seen a quarterback win the Super Bowl that was making that crazy amount of money? Like Mahomes is on that hometown discount stuff. Brady was for a long time, right? But we've not seen a quarterback win it with all that kind of stuff. Yeah. When Aaron Rodgers got paid in Green Bay, that's when they kept losing to San Francisco. Y'all paid all this money. This dude can't beat Colin Kaepernick or Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's true. When the Eagles won it with Foles, had Wentz even got paid yet?
I think Wentz had gotten paid because he had looked good. I think the year before, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, but my point is, you start paying out for these quarterbacks that are meh. When look, Purdy understands this is what I got to do, and it's been great so far.
Yeah, he's come back and picked up where he left off. So until it falls apart, just keep rolling with that. If I'm the 49ers, I hate to see that.
We got the Rams. We got the Rams this week. They beat the Seahawks, but we got the Rams at SoFi, and I'm gonna be mad if we win because this will be like the 8th straight win, except for that NFC Championship game.
Right.
And I knew when it happened, I was like, man, okay, because we had beaten the Rams like 7, 8 times before that, and you knew the streak had to end. But I'm like, there's a good possibility it could be like 7 or 8 years, and that's going to be the only Rams win. And I'm gonna be mad about it.
Well, when you put it that way, I can.
Yeah, man. Like, I'd trade any of them, man. My man Quentin's a Rams fan. He's like, we always lose to you, but you won the important one. You got that one.
Yeah.
I'll trade 4 or 5 of those for that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, beat the Rams again. I'll be like, come on now.
So we got those Jets that we've been talking about without Aaron Rodgers, and look, you got Zach Wilson who just came in there against Buffalo. There's the home opener. You should not lose to Zach Wilson. I know the Jets got a good defense, and they got probably going to get a good dose of the run because they don't want to put the ball in Zach Wilson's hands either. So we're going to get a lot of Dalvin Cook and whoever that other Brees Hall is. They're going to try to run down our throat like the Giants did at the beginning of the game and make Dallas stop the run. But defensively, I mean, they were all over the place. Micah Parsons is Micah Parsons. He's up there with Bosa's. And as far as defensive player of the year, it's going to be him. It's going to be Bosa. It's going to be, that's their award to kind of pass around to each other. And then Micah's about to get paid. He just saw what Bosa got paid. So he's about to get his money and keep getting his sacks. Just make life miserable for Zach Wilson because he's clearly not ready yet. Robert Saleh's got to say that he's his guy now. But if he was your guy, you wouldn't have brought in Aaron Rodgers. So we know how you really feel about him because we saw how you felt about him last year when you benched his behind when it was windy and he was like, guys, it's windy out here. And the other team was planning to win. So don't even make this game. Jump on Zach and just jump to 2-0 and be undefeated when you play the Niners, or it should be. Don't look too far ahead, but that's ain't really got to be tested until we play San Francisco.
Could it be going back to the 90s a throwback where the winner of that game gets a leg up? I mean, I know Philadelphia is Philadelphia. They still the big bads, but I kind of like the Niners Cowboys game having a little bit more to it besides nostalgia.
Mm-hmm. Like home field or that kind of thing. Because if y'all win and then we meet again, we might be having to come to Levi's because y'all won already. That whole all that kind of stuff.
Jimmy G did win in Dallas a couple years ago in the playoffs. But the important thing to keep in
oh, there's the haymaker right there. There it is.
The only time I actively cussed Jimmy Garoppolo, if you remember that third short at midfield, we try to run out the clock, and I remember the play. Trent Williams pulls, and Jimmy G is just supposed to follow him on a quarterback sneak, and he breaks off of Trent Williams and tries to sneak and doesn't get it. That's the only time I ever cussed Jimmy Garoppolo because I'm like, what are you doing?
Uh-huh.
Trent Williams is pulling with a head of steam. You can get a yard.
You sure can.
You can get a yard. That was the only time I didn't even yell when he threw the interception with his eyes closed. I was like, oh, that's unbelievable. But come on, man. Like Trent Williams. Anyway.
And going back to Josh Allen, we know about the 3 picks, but that fumble, that was butt fumble-esque. He ran, I don't know if it was a elbow fumble or he ran into looked like his own lineman and coughed it up. It wasn't quite Mark Sanchez, but it made me think of Mark Sanchez.
We got to have that conversation, man. You can't be elite and turn the ball over like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just not how it operates.
And they telling you to, protect the ball. He's still running, trying to just run over people and take hits when he shouldn't take them. That's all this same kind of stuff. Just thought he was past all that, but he.
And that stuff comes it catches up with you. You look at Cam Newton,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, big strong guy that eventually, even the biggest, strongest, the Earl Campbells, the whoever, it catches up with you.
Derrick Henry at some point, sooner or later,
The the,
stiff arm ain't gonna be a stiff, and
the wheels fall off, man, and that's just how it is. We can make fun of Franco Harris, those guys going out of bounds. Franco Harris still move around. The guys that ran over everybody, they're the ones shuffling around. So if I'm like, if I can win 4 Super Bowls, and I'd rather move around than what y'all doing.
Exactly. Speaking of Josh Allen, how about our Josh Allen for the Jaguars? 8, 10 tackles, 3 sacks. He was out there just wreaking havoc. I think they beat the Colts, I think. But he was, for the fantasy football people, Josh Allen was racking up points for you.
I'm a big Josh Allen fan. That's that Kentucky brand coming out there. That dude was fantastic at Lexington. He's been fantastic in the NFL. Jamin Davis making some plays. Lonnie Johnson making some plays. Like, the Kentucky boys are doing it, man.
And Jacksonville kind of quietly got a squad. I mean, we San Diego choked or Jacksonville came back or whatever, but Lawrence is kind of finding his way. Josh Allen is established and kind of in his prime. Luke Fortner is down there starting center as a rookie for Jacksonville. They got a little squad now. Kansas City and Buffalo and Cincinnati get all the hype, but Jacksonville, they might just do a lot of something this year.
Right. Because look, I'm never putting any money down on the Chargers, man.
They did the same thing Sunday as they did in the last game they played last year. They started off this year and did the same thing.
I don't believe in, I guess, generational curses, but I believe some teams are always going to be who they are. The Clippers are always the Clippers. I don't care who owns them, who's playing. They're still the Clippers. And the Chargers are still the Chargers.
Yeah.
You're going to get some great offensive output. But when it comes down to it, there's always, when it's time to win, it's going to be like, what? What are y'all doing? Like that. That's just, to me, that's how it works,
Mm-hmm. Speaking of time to win, we don't talk about tennis a lot, but Coco Gauff, it was time to win, and she won herself her first major. The 4th teenager to win the U.S. Open. It was like her and Steffi, Chris Everett and Serena and somebody else. But congratulations to her. We don't talk a lot of tennis. I used to watch the majors a lot back in the day, peep at the Australian Open, New Year's, and peep in at Wimbledon and the French and the U.S. Open. But it was cool to see her seal the deal and get her first major the other day.
Yeah, I too did. Along with a lot of other folks, the ratings high as it's been in a long time for the U.S. Open. I mean, for me, I love it. I'd love to see that black girl magic to continue from the Williams sisters, and now Coco's got her thing. So I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was glad to see it. Now, man, speaking of in the other extreme, making us look bad, Mel Tucker, and it's still a profession where there's not a lot of us coaching. You think back to Kentucky TV, it was historic because you had Charlie Strong at Louisville, Joker Phillips at Kentucky, Willie Taggart at Western. And I remember asking Joker Phillips about it, the significance of those hires, 3 African-American head coaches in one state. And Joker said, we're going to be 3 quick fires if we don't win. And unfortunately, Joker was the first one that left. But Mel Tucker, speaking of Dion, Mel was at Colorado, right?
Yeah.
And parlayed that into Michigan State. A lot of people thought, premature, has a good year up there, gets the bag, and now all these allegations and accusations.
And so the Detroit Free Press put out a tweet article. Does Mel Tucker hamper other black coaching hires? A lot of people took umbrage with that. And I'm like, it's a valid question. Well, nobody said if this coach did something that was all bad for white coaches. They don't have to say that. Because you knew when Bobby Trino did all his stuff at Louisville the first go around, he gonna get another job. When he left Atlanta, the way he left, he was going to another job. When all that stuff with the neck brace popped off in Arkansas, you knew he was going to get another job. And now he's back on staff at Texas A&M.
Until he gets the next job, he's gonna get another job.
But the point is, we know he's getting another job. Yeah. Fitzgerald that just got fired from Northwestern, he's getting another job, right? The guy that was at Maryland's at Texas A&M now, where a kid died on his watch.
Yeah, DJ Durkin, yes,
got another job. That's always the way it works.
Jimbo, that Jimbo staff, Jesus.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
God,
you know how crazy it is. So we had dinner with Adam. It's been forever ago. I forgot. I just assume people know about the Bobby Petrino story. It isn't until you explain it to someone who doesn't know, and they're like, "Wait a minute." And Kate was dumbfounded. I'm like, "We're not even to the Arkansas stuff yet."
Yep.
And it's like, oh, okay. And so it's one of these things, all the stuff that happened to Pitino at Louisville. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is the issue is when it comes to football in particular, black coaches don't get hired. And when they do, it doesn't take a lot for them to get up out. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's just how it is. And I know people like to pretend there's no racism. So I need you to explain to me a sport where 65 to 70% of the participants are African American and less than 5% are the coaches. How does that work? You got to explain it to me. Can we play at a high level? We can't coach at a high level? The math ain't mathing on that. Mm-hmm. And people's like, well, I think there's like 10 or 11 black head coaches in the college football this year. Well, they're only 10% of the population. That's right. We're only 10% of the population. But when it comes to football, we're 70% of your roster. The math ain't mathing. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think it's fair game to ask about Mel Tucker's impact, because I think there's going to be some coaches that are going to come up and a booster or somebody's going to say, well, Mel Tucker, that's the way it works.
I mean, Warren Moon had to go win 5 Grey Cups before he got on with the Oilers,
Right. And it's unbelievable. And I know people, you always talk about race. Well, it's part of the equation. This is still America. This is still part of it. And part of it at the college level is you got to sell the boosters, somebody you can bring in that can go to their golf clubs and do all this kind of stuff. And sometimes it's not the people that look like me and you that get those opportunities. Mm-hmm. So it is fair to say this one guy messing up, does it impact? I think it's a fair question.
Yeah.
To be fair, he messed up. From what I read, he messed up.
Yeah. Like, what you doing, man? You got in there and got that job and got that contract, and what are you doing?
As a married man, you've got zero business asking a woman, if I wasn't married, there's no good that can come out of that hypothetical. Why are you asking? Mm-hmm. You need to be out the door because that's dumb. On top of the other stuff.
Yep.
So that leads to my next point is, what are we doing at Michigan State?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
From the Larry Nassar stuff to the stuff that's happened under Izzo.
Izzo, who
Like,
just still gets just whistled and
right,
bypassed.
right. So for my money, it's like, okay, at what point do we look at Michigan State?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a lot of stuff going on. Y'all just happen to be like, oh wow, yeah, like that's wild. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tucker, he got to go.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just dragging out now, but it's all over. But the shouting and whatever you want to say, man, it's
he doesn't have the ability to do like Jim Harbaugh during his suspension and cut grass, whatever weirdo crap Jim Harbaugh. That guy's he's such a goofball. And look, I appreciate his run in San Francisco, but man, since he's been to Michigan, he all about being corny as all hell, man. Just, come on, man.
That's my dad used to say that. He said, well, you can just look at him, tell he's just a little crazy. He's just a little off. And it's just tell by look at his eyes. He's just a little bit off. He used to say that about him all the time. Michigan, San Francisco, he just little.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Mel Tucker got to go, man. You can't, especially not to someone you bring in to talk to the team about sexual harassment. You can't harass the guest speaker. What are you doing, man?
Exactly. It don't like you said, it don't add up at all, and just wasn't thinking at all. So yeah, and as quick as you got it, now it's gone, and you played yourself, man.
And the thing is, these coaches doing all this stuff with their school issued devices. Remember, that's what got Hugh Freeze out of the paint. Again, another great story to tell someone that doesn't know the ins and outs of recruiting and how Houston Nutt suing got the Hugh Freeze stuff. Like, man, it's great. College sports is crazy.
And we just take it for granted that everybody knows, because I guess it's just so much closer to us. The Petrino stuff is just so much closer to us. We just think everybody knows how salacious that was and all the stuff Bobby was doing. But like you said, when people really don't know, and then like their jaws dropping when they hear just the Louisville first time around stuff, not the neck brace and the Arkansas stuff. Yeah,
when you talk to someone who isn't into college sports, and the stuff we take for granted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that kind of stuff. It's like, what? Like what? Like, explaining it to someone is very, very strange.
Yeah, it's like it's the real life stories for the people that watch soap operas. This is what, especially SEC football, Southern football, college sports. It's your stories. It's a soap opera literally happening every week, and that's the best way I can equate it. If you watch your soaps, you watch your Guiding Light, your Dynasty, your whatever for years, that's what it is with football, college sports as a whole. There's an off season, but stuff still be going down in this off season, and then just.
I would listen to a podcast that was nothing but stories of college coaches getting caught doing stupid stuff. I would listen to that. I would find that fascinating. That's why I love that Spencer Hall and try to catch him when I can, because he's got some great ones of boosters being wild as hell and just do it. Like, give me all that, man. And when you hear those kinds of stories of coaches being wild, boosters being wild, school administrators being wild, that's why you got to stop telling me the kids getting some money off their name, image, and likeness is the downfall of college athletics. It's been gross. It has been this seedy underbelly. Like, what are we doing here?
I had, David Davis on, which we've had him on a couple of times. Had him on, we played for NC State and Baylor, played wide receiver. Had him on right before the season started, just because he watched Leary way more than we have, and he could definitely look at it from X and O standpoint, former player standpoint, and give us an idea of what we're getting with Leary. But he was talking, about his recruitment visit, and Monty Kiffin was at NC State, Pete Carroll was at NC State, so he was talking about a young Pete Carroll, 29, 30 years, the same Pete Carroll you see now at 71, he was the same way at 29. He told a couple stories about how he was as an assistant coach and all that. But he ended up saying, I'm just a kid, a country boy from Spindale, North Carolina, a small town. But he took one of his visits to Miami, the U. He said, look, I was a receiver. He said Michael Irvin hosted me at Miami. He said it took me 2 weeks to recover from my visit. So he said
Man,
I had to recuperate from my visit to the U. So just that kind of stuff.
well,
It's hilarious.
Ryan Leaf has talked. I think when he was hosting the not Dan Patrick, Rich Eisen show about his recruiting visit to Miami, and he was with The Rock, like, and they were out at some Miami night, like, and he's talked about, like, man, back in those days, I would listen to a podcast about that because that's fascinating.
Just wow, man. And
Because
he out.
if I'm a recruit, I'm taking all those visits, baby. Even if I know where I'm going, oh yeah, baby, yeah, we doing this. One of my favorite movies is The Program. I got it on VHS. My mom gave me a whole big box of VHS tapes because I got to find a VCR in 2023. But I love The Program. It's like, that's not quite wild enough. I need some uncensored what really goes on in these recruiting visits.
And that's loosely Florida State, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. I'm not the movie guy. You're the movie guy. And speaking of movies, you can check out the Forecast TV and been on there previewing movies, reviewing movies, and being something to know those guys. They just did one about George Foreman, so I'm sure that'll be some good stuff.
I've not seen the George Foreman. I got to go see the new Equalizer 3 with Denzel because I watch him go around and fight everybody. I'm a huge Denzel fan. Mama B loves Denzel, except for Training Day. She will not watch Training Day because she doesn't want to see a bad Denzel.
Oh, okay. I got it. Have you seen on Instagram, is it C King that does that perfect Denzel impersonation? You seen him?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Hey, I'm a Denzel fan. People say, oh, he's whatever. Hey, if it's Denzel, I'm gonna check it out.
I've seen a few of them. I don't even watch movies. I've seen some of them. So yeah, I can't say I've seen them all, but Flight and John Q and Remember the Titans and there's some other ones. Is it Ricochet?
Ricochet going back a little bit, yeah.
Ooh, okay. Hey, see, I got a few of them Denzel movies on my belt. But yeah, man, any soapbox stuff, man. We ain't soapbox in a long time. Used to do that every week. That was like segment. That was our show segment, Terry Soapbox. But.
Yeah, I'm mellowing out in my old age. I'm not getting too fired up anymore. Look, man, I'm happy that the Kentucky football team is winning. I think we're past that. This is the old Kentucky kind of thing. Sometimes a game is a game. I'm happy about that. I've already said my piece about the New York Football Giants. Get out of my face with that. Like, I just was thinking about that while the game was going on because I think you might have sent me a text message, and I'm like, okay. But I'm like, the Giants have all these Super Bowls, 4 in our lifetime. But when has there ever been like, oh, okay, this Giants team is going in? They're always the underdog. Like, they never are a favorite to win.
Yeah.
That to me is weird because we've seen the Vikings have great teams. They didn't win, but you're like, okay. Hell, Atlanta was must see with the Dirty Bird.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, but I just don't feel it.
Outside of Lawrence Taylor, one of the greatest defensive players ever, arguably, but that's outside of him.
That's going back at least 40 years.
Right. So, I mean,
but they've offensively not had a team where you're just like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, because I was just thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, they won those 2, but man, a lot of meh outside of that.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. And they was really meh Sunday night. So. Hey,
yeah.
Alabama now took an L. Texas came to Tuscaloosa. I know, beat them by 10. But the stats after Alabama losses are almost as impressive as the stuff they do in wins. That was his first ever home loss by double digits since he's been at Alabama, which is in That's to show up and not have a bad home game against Auburn or LSU or something and just get whooped one day. That never happened until Saturday when Texas comes in there and beats them by 10. Are they? Everybody been wanting to write them off all summer, and you know LSU doesn't look great. I don't know is it Ole Miss? Is it who's going to jump up there? Is it still Alabama? Are they going to rebound? Is Milroe going to get it together? Is it still Alabama's SEC West to lose, or is it rust and chinks in the armor that they can't overcome this year?
Man, I tell you what, Alabama's going to go 10-2 again, and then they're going to have a conversation with Nick Saban. I mean, it sounds crazy, but yeah, let Alabama go 10-2, 9-3, miss the playoff again. They're going to have a conversation. It sounds crazy,
yeah,
but that's what Alabama is.
It's going to be the same stuff for him. Him and Belichick both going to be having some hot seats.
Look, they showed Bear Bryant the door.
Yeah.
And Alabama has shown they will do whatever it takes, even if it doesn't make any sense. They will do whatever it takes to keep this thing going. And yeah, there was that stretch where it wasn't working, right? When you and I were coming up, Alabama was, yeah, they had the '93 title with that George Teague team, but it wasn't this Alabama. We heard stories of Bear Bryant, but it wasn't this.
Yeah.
But Alabama, they're going to keep trying to find it.
When we were coming up, Tennessee had a long winning streak against Alabama. Like it wasn't in Kentucky long, but it was a long streak. And all those jokes about the Alabama guy, those jokes, his son, his dog, whatever, his dog ain't but 12 years old. He's never seen, all those punchlines. We've never seen a victory over. Tennessee had the one-sided, and until last year, Alabama won like 15 in a row against them. But it was the other way around. When I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, all the Tennessee people was making the joke, well, Alabama ain't beat us forever.
The East was the better football division for the longest time, with Tennessee and Florida kind of running things, and then that kind of shifted. But yeah, let Alabama go 9-3. There's conversations about Nick Saban.
Right, exactly right.
And it sounds crazy they're going to show this guy with his 5 championships at the door, but it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you got to figure this out.
Yep.
It sounds crazy, but look at Bill Curry's record when he was at Alabama. It's like 27-4. It's something ridiculous, except 3 of those losses were to Auburn. And they were like, you got to go.
Yep.
Like, you got to go. Because we don't do that.
Yep.
And, say what you want. Alabama's crazy, but but Saban knew that going in.
Mm-hmm. And he came from a crazy place. He came from Baton Rouge to go, after a stop with the NFL, but went from Baton Rouge to Tuscaloosa. So
now, to be fair, LSU didn't become LSU until he was there.
Yeah.
Until Kevin Falk showed up, and they kind of turned that thing around, because Louisiana kids weren't going to LSU. Mm-hmm. We just assume they will now, but that's because of Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus Spears, I think it's Marcus Spears, talks about when he was growing up, like nobody thought about going to LSU, but Saban's really the one that kind of turned that around and got LSU on the map.
Because we go again. It was Jerry DiNardo at LSU when we were there, and they were
right.
I mean, shoot, Kentucky went down there and beat them with my guy George Massey. Fellow Cumberland Redskin. He was on the squad that went to Baton Rouge. They kicked the kick to beat LSU. That was before they beat Alabama. They had already had a win in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and my good friend Ray McLaurin, I don't know if he was running back way back when we were there. He had a couple of touchdowns. We beat LSU at Commonwealth way back when. So LSU has not always been LSU.
That's true. That is true.
Alabama's had ins and outs of that. The thing is, when Alabama gets rolling, there's nothing better. They're gonna feed that beast.
Yeah.
But yeah, let Saban finish this season 10-2 outside the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's the earliest that I remember them losing in a while, and now these other games, Texas A&M is all over the places they are. Give them trouble. They
Yeah.
they beat them last year. Ole Miss has beat them before. Speaking of Hugh Freeze knows how to beat Nick Saban. He beat him a couple years in a row before he lost his mind at Ole Miss. So the path is a little tricky for Mr. Saban. So like you said, they'll be trying to holler at him if he go 10-2. You that's it. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Don't we can't sit here and say, "Oh, they crazy." A lot of folks try to get Cal after the paint after 2015.
Yeah.
And that's my whole thing. The voices, the last 3 years haven't been what we wanted to be basketball. We've talked about this before, but some of y'all been complaining since 2015.
Oh yeah.
4 Final Fours in 5 years. Y'all was like, he may have to go.
Yep.
If y'all been on that he got to go thing for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Good portion of us is just as crazy as Alabama. Sure are.
Yeah, what happens if you get a Kentucky basketball and Alabama football fan together? You have a crazy baby. Is what you gonna have?
Oh man! Oh my goodness! Yeah, for sure.
But woo,
good show, man.
But is Texas back? We don't know, man. Maybe. I mean,
they might go out and lose to Rice in a couple weeks if they on this.
And that's the thing. They're gonna do something. We're gonna forget about them. I mean, and that's the way it always happens with college football. We see all these big games in week 1, week 2, and then in retrospect, not that great.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of stuff happens.
Mm-hmm. Let's see that. Yeah, perfect trap game. Wyoming comes to Texas this Saturday, and then they go to Baylor. So, I mean, they on paper they ought to, and then Kansas after that. They ought to roll, but it's no guarantee that they win. They win those 3.
And Brian Ferentz update: he is 6 points behind the pace he needs to do to keep his job. He's got to average, I think, 29 points per game, and they're a little bit short. And apparently, defensive points count toward that. They made that point perfectly clear during the game. Like,
what a bonus, because they always scored on the defensive side.
They scored a pick 6 last weekend. So.
If it weren't for defense, he'd already be in real trouble.
That's a wrap. I mean, that's how they won the bowl game against us. 1 touchdown, but 2 pick 6s.
Yeah.
2 defensive touchdowns. That's how it works. So,
speaking of that, we'll definitely be talking about that in I think a couple weeks, because next week Corey Price is scheduled to come back. We had to reschedule with him. The following week, your girl from Round of Shots, Carrie Lewis, who is watching that Ferentz tracker,
brings it up all the time. It's hilarious. I mean, how bad does your offense have to be that we got to do this? Like, we need you to score this many points.
Yeah. So this should be the week after the Vanderbilt game, going into the Florida game. I think we're gonna have Carrie Lewis, and so a couple guests coming up. Try to get some more as well, and we do our thing like we do each and every week. TV, man.
Absolutely, man. Glad that Cats 2-0. Glad our football teams are 1-0, and well, got a matchup in a few weeks, and hopefully match up in January.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We're due to beat y'all in January. Y'all got us a couple times. It'd be time to return the favor.
What's that now?
Yeah, we're due to beat y'all in January. Yes, it's time to return the favor for the past couple times. Yeah, Cowboys are due.
The math don't math on that, but I understand why you might say that.
Oh, we appreciate y'all. Oh, and shout out to Michelle. I think she tweeted out in a couple of days her son is getting married.
Yeah.
There's about 185 people there. She don't know them all, but she said she probably will by the end of the night. So congrats on Michelle, about to be a mother-in-law, and congrats on her son about to tie that knot. just like, Gilligan off the island. But yeah. So congratulations on all that. And Michelle, I know you're listening when we drop it, so hope you enjoyed this episode. And
We'll do it again.
absolutely. Thanks again to Ben Sutter and BS3 Network. Thanks to Terry TB Brown for coming in, working late, and still coming in here dropping knowledge like always. We'll see y'all next week. Go Cats. Beat Akron. We'll holler at y'all.